Welcome to the episode 5 breakdown video. I'm Chris Wall.
I'm Andrew Peterson. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, we are heading rapidly to the end of season 3, and so glad to get to spend a moment with you talking about this episode. And we're going to dive in and tell you all the things we know, kind of stuff that I've been working on, and how we arrived at different moments, that kind of stuff. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving and getting ready for Christmas.
Oh yeah, it's December.
Yeah, it's happening.
I'm on tour.
Yeah. We mentioned this last time, but we've got some great holiday merch. We've got these figurines on sale, some mugs, all this kind of fun stuff. The Angel Wingfeather store, they do some pretty cool stuff for the holidays.
Super
Definitely
cool.
Go check it out.
This blanket,
That blanket
that I'm going to put on.
so incredible. Are you going to put it on again?
Well, for part of it. It depends on how cold I get, Chris.
It's a great blanket.
If the air
That's a new
conditioner cuts
piece.
on.
It's so fun. There's pajamas. There's our RPG. It's pretty great. I love that map. I'm so glad we got to make
It's
another
really
map.
cool.
I know, a fan of maps. But
Me too.
yeah, so be sure to check that out. It's just you can go to wingfeathersaga.com/store and find that, and off you go. Good stuff. And all of that is great for you guys to get to enjoy with your families, but it helps support the show. It helps us to continue making the show, getting into season 4 and beyond is because of you. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Episode 5.
Yeah, man.
So right away, we had episode 4 we mentioned was directed by our good friend Keith Lenga, who's head of our studio and runs all our production pipelines. He's amazing. And then episode 5, our animation director, Ron Smith, got to step in on this one and really bring it to life.
Yep, he's a legend, and he killed it.
And he had pages of backstory and character motivations and all kinds of cool stuff to reference. To really fill out the story and make it, have some arc to it, like that there's characters of differing opinions about, this kind of sea dragon hunting and all that kind of thing.
I would say this is the first real flashback that we've had, right?
Right.
That we haven't ever done this, so it's got
little hints of stuff, but not like that.
Yeah. So if you, I'm imagining that the people at home were kind of like, "Whoa, this is a different thing. It's happening. We're going somewhere we haven't ever gone before, and it's heavy." It's intense. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of the opportunities we have in the animated series versus the novel is that we can look at the overall story of Wingfeather and think about, rather than just reference something like this, why don't we just go show it to you? And I think some of you have figured this out. I've noticed a few comments out there in socials of future, I bet when they get to this moment, they're just going to show it to us. Right. They're starting to expect this now of why talk about it? Let's just show you what happened. Right. It's a cool thing.
Yeah.
This stemmed from this incredible project we got to do together at the end of the Kickstarter for the short film, which was, hey, what if we did as a stretch goal, Wingfeather Tales?
Well, that was for Word in the Wolf King.
No, that was for our Kickstarter.
No, it was for Word in the Wolf.
No, it was for our Kickstarter. I know. Trust me. It was for the Kickstarter. And it was the longest piece that took me forever to get it delivered because I had to ship these guys out. Because we needed Doug to write his story. And I was like, do you want to give frame on how long it will take?
That's so weird. I don't remember that like that.
And,
whatever.
And Nate Wilson and all those wonderful people got to be called into that. And so that was all in 2016 and 17 for us to make that. And Pete Peterson was a contributor. You want to tell us about him getting into that? Because that was a important one.
Pete, my older brother, in case you guys don't know, he's awesome. He's a great writer, playwright, and wrote Corey Ten Boom's The Hiding Place, which is, you can watch it on Angel. It's wonderful. And he's written he wrote a treatment of Frankenstein, a couple other staged theatrical productions. And but he's also written a couple of novels, which are Revolutionary War era, young adult adventure stories. And so when we had the idea to do this, to kind of invite a bunch of other authors to write Wingfeather based stories, he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and decided to write Poto's backstory, how he lost his leg. And it's called, what is the name of the story?
From the Deeps of the Dragon King begins on page 135 of this book.
Yeah, and it's super good. And there's an illustration.
I was just going to find the illustration. There it is. There's this incredible illustration.
Doug Knaple did the illustration, which is super.
So each writer of this thing we paired with a illustrator, which was really fun to think about the pairings as we went through it.
One of my favorite things about this side note with Wingfeather Tales is that I wrote the first story, which is called The Prince of Yorshadun, which became a children's book. And then I also got to write my first ever comic.
Yep.
So there's an actual
Which, because of the time of this, because comics take forever, we had to publish separately initially. And then it got included in the so some of you guys have the older Wingfeather Tales, which has a different cover,
and the new one
had it
Shadowblade and the Florid Sword, which is so cool. In light of this season, we get to see some things
them as well.
Yeah. So Wingfeather Tales is cool, and it was so awesome. It was a great idea to dip into Wingfeather Tales and use that part of the story.
Yeah, and it's this really just vital moment in the story, and so of course Pete got to be a part of kind of thinking about that with us as we were in the writer's room, kind of pushing stuff out there. But we sat down with Pete recently and talked about kind of working on this and making this part of Poto's backstory. And so here's an interview with him that I hope you enjoy. Everyone, excited to welcome Pete Peterson.
Glad to be here.
To the room here. So good to see you.
Yeah.
Man, I was talking with Andrew about this, but it was back in 2016 that we needed a stretch goal in the Kickstarter campaign. Yep. And Andrew and I talked about short stories, and this book was created, Wingfeather Tales. So you, of course, are running the Rabbit Room Press, and we began to kind of pitch everybody on stories. Yep. And Andrew says this in our chat, but that you quickly pitched, "Oh man, I want to talk about Poto."
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Pete was also the editor on books 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. So of course, intimately understanding kind of the story arc of Wingfeather and all that kind of stuff. Talk about Poto and kind of getting into it and just your initial ideas.
Well, I mean, it actually goes back farther than that. My interest in Poto was due in large part to the fact that he's a maritime nautical figure.
Yep.
And previously I'd written my 2 books, which are about Revolutionary War era piracy. So like I was really comfortable and love writing about the sea and ships and naval battles and all that kind of stuff. And so in the context of the Wingfeather story, that's where Poto comes from. Mm-hmm. So it immediately felt just super fun and exciting to me to explore that backstory that he has, because like we don't ever really hear a whole lot about it in the book. We know he's got this history with the sea dragons and the pirate-ish things that are going on in his life, but they never come into the foreground. So it just immediately felt like a comfortable spot for me to write about.
Okay, so it's interesting because when you say that, season 2, everybody got to see Poto telling the story around fire of being a strander, mm-hmm. right? And you're picturing this kindly old grandfather who has some tattoos, and there's a story there. But there's an interesting thing that we tend to clean things up, mm-hmm. right? So like that tattoo, that scar we have that your grandpa talks about. Mm-hmm. I remember one of my grandfathers talking about World War I, mm-hmm. right? And like, the stuff they went through, and there was a shadow, right, of like, there's some stuff happened here, right? But we kind of clean up. The reality is Poto, I mean, even as a strander, it's all fun and games job there, but like...
yeah. Right. The story we tell ourselves is often a different story than actually happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved the idea that Poto had this thing in his past and it's important. I don't want to spoil things that are, going to happen in future seasons, but like the reality of the person that he was in the past are going to have really real world consequences eventually.
Sure.
So to me, just digging into the character, I wanted to know how deep that rabbit hole went. Mm-hmm. So really going back there and figuring out a way to see Poto as this younger man of lesser judgments and how he might grow into this older man of, he's still like the loose cannon in the family, but like he's got a lot of experience and wisdom at the same time. And there had to be a point at which Poto wasn't like that. Yep. So that's what I wanted to see.
So one of the things we see in the episode that kind of we made a bit of a moment of it is that he has 2 working legs.
Yeah.
And I think that anytime someone's missing something, you're like, well, what happened there? And so we have this great moment where you see it in the episode, if you haven't paid close attention, y'all, but where he slides down the stairs and lands with 2 good feet. Kind of make a moment of that. And the question is, okay, so what happened? How did that leg get gone?
And it was fun in the story too, to really blow on those embers, because it's a little different the way the short story works versus the stuff in the TV show.
Sure.
But I love the idea that Moto was actually famous for his glorious legs.
Sure.
And so just kind of setting up the thing that he had lost had been really important to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is just fun.
So we had an interesting discussion here about the setting, and obviously in the story. So there's, for those of you that have got the old copy, there's also this newer version. In here, there's a great illustration from Doug TenNapel that really kind of gets us a sense of what the violence of that moment. This awesome thing. But where's that guy? It's crazy. The hunting of sea dragons, you describe it in the book as it's absurd to think about hunting a sea dragon. Like, that's not going to be successful.
Right.
However, hunting their young, possible. I'm curious, in your version of the story, I haven't read it in a little bit, so I wonder how far we veered. Did you talk about what was precious in the sea dragons? Like, what were they looking for?
Well, I can't remember exactly, but it was kind of like that every part of that animal was useful in some way.
Okay.
And that's all harkening back to my love for Moby Dick.
Sure. Because
like large swaths of Moby Dick are about like how the whaling industry worked and made use of every part of this animal that they worked so hard to harvest.
Sure.
And so I drew that line directly from Moby Dick too.
Okay, so then in the TV series, we simplified down to, just because the complexity of fully carving up a sea dragon and putting it on board a ship, and a little dark, simplified down to that they wanted the scales, right? And really wanted to hit on the scale raker name, right? Because that was such a cool thing, and pulling those off and kind of tying to, I've talked about Harry Potter, with cutting the horn off of the unicorn, to even in modern day rhinos, right? That we take the horn and the animal dies, right? Whatever. That there's probably something that feels more grounded. I think in whatever fantasy story, I love finding ways to make it feel grounded. And so, yes, whaling, as you described, we spent quite a bit of time looking at whalers, right? So emotionally, I'm curious in your writing of it, we played the idea that the whole crew, everybody just is hunting animals. The idea that these are sentient creatures has not dawned upon them.
Yes.
And that's a late discovery. Right.
And that was one of the things I was most excited about in the writing of it. Was, all these people are approaching this as if they're just, harvesting eggs from chickens or something.
Okay, sure.
It's something that we do every day and we don't think about it. But then having to come face to face with the reality that this is something that's like older, wiser, more intelligent than I am, and we're just using it up. Like that's something that gives you pause.
So even the young, that's an interesting discussion. We know that Jurgen is thousands of years old, that they age a lot. So even the young could be 100 years old.
Yeah.
Right? Who lived way beyond your lifetime, knows way more about the world than you do.
Right.
As a human hunting it,
Right. Which we actually now know is true of sharks. Sorry, it's total sidebar. Yeah, there's like these Norwegian sharks or something. They're like 800 years old. They were old when the American Revolution happened. That kind of stuff, and it feels like a sea dragon, right?
I love that. So anytime you get into a story where you get a sense of time and place, and you're like, "Whoa, I am so small."
Yeah.
But we went and visited the redwoods, Northern California,
right? And
you got those. A trunk on there, and it marks the Roman Empire.
It's crazy, yeah.
And we're a blip of a ring. We're just nothing on that dial. When we kind of set up for this hunting expedition, there of course becomes how in the world could anyone ever hunt a large creature like this? Because they're still pretty large. How much of that did you have to research, kind of understanding whaling and that sort of thing?
reveals what a nerd I am. I didn't have to research a lot because I
Okay.
already know it.
Talk about
Just because I love Moby Dick and I've been writing about nautical stuff for a long time. So it was kind of like already buried in there. But what was interesting was thinking through uh, the complexities of like, okay, they're not going to be hunting full grown sea dragons because that's just unreasonable. If you think about it. So then, if they're hunting the young, how might that work? Because you don't often encounter a young one far from a mature one,
Okay.
and you're also in a boat that's driven by the wind, and they can swim.
Okay.
So there's that limitation. So I put a lot of thought into trying to figure out the choreography of like, is there a way in which this makes sense and is believable? And that was a lot of fun. And that's kind of the revelation of the story.
Yeah.
Is Poto has stumbled on this idea of, I think I know how to do it, and we're all going to get rich if we can pull it off. So it was just fun.
It's interesting to think about the get rich part. So, of humble means, right? He's a strander. You kind of just get little pittance of things here and there.
But even being a strander, it's kind of like your mind is always in like, we're going to make a score.
What's the score, right? Yeah. So then they've been out there hunting whatever kind of fish from the dark sea of darkness, and it's worth something. Good couple days, weeks of labor, you pull it back and you get some pay. But it's this is like change your life kind of moment.
It's like the Louvre heist.
It's like the Louvre heist. Well played. That motivation is interesting because we talk about it in one of the earlier episodes when Janner first sees a dragon skeleton above the hearth in the Khmer dining hall. And Nia really comes down hard on they did it for money. Now, she understands because of her world of Anniera, and I think obviously Poto later in life realizes this, that the dragons were former allies of them from a kingdom perspective. Like they have thick ties, and so the idea of kind of attacking them is horrible. And she says they did it for money, and kind of this thing. Inside of Poto is this kind of harsher survival kind of profit from thing. Talk to me about the character there, because we know the guy today, and there's these ideas of people don't change, and yet we see a very different Poto.
Yeah. Well, that's why I liked the story, is because this is the moment in which something fundamental shifts in him and he becomes a different person, right? So in the younger Poto is all about, we're going to do this dragon heist and we're going to make it out rich. It's going to be the best thing we've ever done. And then that's what he thinks is going to happen. He's coming out of this with wealth. What actually happens is something horrifying that changes him fundamentally. And like I end the story in the book was saying he went forth ever thereafter with a limp. The idea that the thing that happens to him in the story is so earth-shaking that he's forever changed by it. And so I think for the rest of his life, he carries his dragon hunting past as a wound and a thing that he regrets. And he kind of like guides everything in his life by that wound, if it makes sense. So like he loves the sea, but he's now like banished from it and he can't enjoy it, and that hurts. And then the memory of like the fact that he had preyed on something else's children, that really hurts, especially now that his sole purpose in life is to care for his children, and grandchildren. So like it all just makes everything about him that much more complex when we see the source of that wound. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. And the people around him obviously pay a dear cost. We kind of in the episode did a little. We joke about this a lot. Avatar Airbender, the animated series. That nobody dies in that series. They're always like, "Oh, I got hurt." Like, you totally died, right? But it was a way to kind of keep a little safer. In ours, we don't really detail if anyone died or not, but it looks pretty rough. Did you think about the after moments of that? Like, how does he break from that community? How does he? It's such an earth-shattering moment that I actually was musing about this. Like, I wonder how did he end up? Because obviously he ends up in Benrona. We know where that story goes, but he's here floating on some flotsam from the broken ship, and a lot of his shipmates probably killed or don't survive this.
It's funny, in an early draft of the book, it was a little darker, or not the book, but the short story. Like I had written this scene where the sea dragon, like its head is hovering over the ship, and he and Poto are having this kind of intimate moment. And in the sea dragon's mouth, you can see sailors trying to get out.
Oh my gosh.
It's really dark.
That's
and
dark.
I loved it because I felt like it really illustrates the stakes, but Andrew was like, I think maybe we don't need to see that much. And I still would put it in there, but he's right. Like it didn't need it. And ultimately it was taken away from the other thing that was happening emotionally.
Sure.
But I did think it was important that we understood that people died because of these decisions.
Sure.
It just mattered in that moment.
One of the things that Ron Smith, who directed the episode, wanted in here was sympathetic characters who turned a little before. So, some of the guys paddling out there, younger sailor, gonna go for the score, and then realizing we may be doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
A little earlier than Poto to help the audience to get
right
that these actions are not great, and it carries some of that feeling. And I think that hopefully we got it right in the playing idea of we harpoon these things and then we let them swim until they just get so tired they can't swim anymore, and then that's our way to defeat them. Otherwise, they will attack us. Right.
The amazing thing about it is that's true. That's something that humans have done.
Yeah.
Because what is a whale if not a sea dragon?
Totally.
You know what I mean? And that we actually did those things, and it's horrifying and astonishing. And it sounds like a great adventure, and I don't think we should be repeating it. But it's just it's a piece of human history and industry that I think is fascinating.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that these days we just think about it in fantasy terms, but no, people did that.
Yeah.
That's what they did. Yeah.
Well, this is such a cool way to get to experience this story, and I'm thrilled that we got to do it because. For all of us that have gotten to read Wingfeather Tales and kind of explore what are other parts of the story that we've not gotten to in the main book, rather than just saying, hey, something dark happened with Poto and then he needs to be forgiven of this, and that's such a big, we actually can, I hope, in the experience of what you guys got to see is count the cost.
Yeah.
Right, to go, oh, that's actually what he's being forgiven of.
Yeah.
And it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Because even the family doesn't get the full.
Right, because he's not going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm,
how would they? It's like you said, it's like a war veteran who comes home and we know something happened there that person just won't talk about. And a lot of those people carry that to their grave with them. And that's kind of how I see Poto. It's like something that was so painful to him that he couldn't look at it anymore.
And that's going to always complicate his relationship with the dragon. So even though he's experienced forgiveness from Holwyn and a pass from Jurgen, which is interesting in the episode structure because we end up he's got to pass two gates essentially. It's like she gives forgiveness, which is incredible, it's fully in her right, and then the father's like, not with me, buddy. You still got to face me, and only does Leeli's intervention stop that. But you as he sails off, it is a sense of relief and forgiveness, and all the, like Andrew says, it walks in kind of in peace the rest of his days. There is this but there's someone in the world, there's a powerful creature in the world who hates me still, right? Given
and for good reason,
and for good reason, right. So cool to get to do it. Thank you for writing the great story that you did.
I'm thrilled that you guys decided to work it into the show.
It's
pretty satisfying.
It's good fun.
Yeah, man.
All right, well, thanks for dropping in with us. Thanks, Pete, for spending some time with us.
You are welcome.
About the episode. Very cool. All right.
So cool getting to talk with Pete about finding a way into his story, and glad we got to have
pretty great.
Such a big exploration here. Some incredible moments visually. Leeli stepping up to initially defend Poto, and stopping the dragon. So cool. And then getting another version of Jurgen's tune. We've talked about Leeli's development, of course, but getting another version of Jurgen's tune that is kind of her own. Imagining, we saw this clip earlier in the season where they're looking at a page and she's like, I think it's music on the page, right? And playing that back.
And it's kind of like the difference between, playing. I mean, this happens a lot with you've got a chord book and you can kind of strum along to a song. And it's like, okay, those are the chords to the song versus learning note for note exactly what the recording is doing.
That's kind of what she's doing.
And you had an interesting conversation on that subject with Ben Botkin on, you were like, hey, on the whistle harp, I imagine, the whistle being this part of what we do in the strings.
Yeah, the whistle is the melody. The strings are plucking the chord progression.
Yeah.
The way that I imagine it. Which, by the way, we haven't really talked about this, but there's a guy out there who made a whistle harp and sent us the YouTube video of its making. So I don't know where it is, if we've reposted it or what, but it actually is possible. This guy actually made a playable, really beautiful sounding whistle harp.
Yeah.
Which I just think that's really cool. But yeah, I just like the fact that Oscar opens the book and he's got what, Jurgen's tune happens to be the song that Leeli was playing on the cliffs in season 1. But she didn't know she was playing Jurgen's tune. She was playing something she thought she was.
So to be clear, this is interesting. She's just singing it there.
Oh, that's right. She's not playing.
I just had a conversation with somebody, and so we see it in the flashback here. But it kind of messed with me because
I didn't think about that.
In her early days, she does play whistle harp at the house and in this little dinky one before she's given the really great one at the end of season 1. But here she's using this ancestral one that's like really special.
Yep.
And
reading the notes from the first book.
And it creates a lot of power.
Yeah.
Right. I think the song maiden thing we're talking about a lot about, where is the kind of the power of that song and her gifts. And it's this combination of this ancient song out of the first book and this amazing whistle harp that she's really letting fly. And so, because, she sang that song, it kind of came to her from nowhere. And she talks about that. I felt like I was just singing something I knew. And that's weird, like kind of where that came out. And now she's getting to really fully engage in the melody of it. It creates these cool unlocks of Jurgen's flashbacks, which are so cool, beautifully illustrated, and really a great way to kind of unpack what's going on with him.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about this, but Janner obviously has this really interesting connection with Jurgen that can hear his voice in his head, and they can kind of talk to each other in that way. And so Janner has to serve as translator on here, and super fun to explore that, how that could play for you guys at home and not be confusing. So it's funny, in editorial, you hear both voices for a long time because we recorded both. And then it was like, when do we just pull one voice out and you just kind of understand?
They kind of forget that that's what's happening.
Yeah. That makes for a lot to unpack. Because again, in a novel, you have a lot that you're able to just tell them, right? But here we've got like, how do we get it out without And Kellen, of course, playing Jurgen impeccably, just such power. It's kind of a given that Jurgen's awesome. There's an actor. It's an amazing actor.
And the actor actually talks like that all the time. That's not true.
That's fun. Yeah, exactly. Because Kellen is such a nice guy. He's so kind. And then he can drive into these voices.
Yeah.
And not just do it. I think it's one of the things I always hear people ask me, I want to be a character voice actor. Okay, fine. Can you make a voice? Fine. Can you bring empathy and like power and all this nuance to that performance, right? That's the trick, which includes Kari, who plays Stonekeeper. She stepped in to perform Holwyn in this episode. And again, it's a short bit of exchange, but she brings all this gravity to it.
Yeah.
And this kind of worn voice, right? That's been around a minute. His experience.
Also, a shout out to Adam for treating the voices and making them feel like they feel.
That's right.
Like tons of work on the back end.
Yeah,
that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
To really give them the kind of weight and bearing and so forth. This was also fun. You probably noticed it through the episode. I talked with Adam about double voicing, that I want to be able to hear the dragon and all this while they're talking, because that's happening in their head. That doesn't mean that their physical self isn't still expressing itself. So one of the things we did to kind of help carry the scene is whenever Jurgen's really frustrated and giving him the what for, telepathically, if you will, that he's huffing and kind of pushing that simultaneous, which was kind of challenging, honestly, to play both, right? You kind of want a mimed version of it. Like, that'd be fun, actually. We could do this as a behind the scenes piece, is turn off Jurgen and like, here's what Poto heard.
Well, that's so funny.
Here's what Poto heard.
That's really funny. I'll be like the YouTube videos where they mute everybody but one person.
Just like that.
I forgot what they call those.
That'd be really fun. But there's a ton of work going into that, which was really fun, including then being able to journey underwater. This was a really big challenge for the team to kind of figure out both the soundscape, which was fun, but then dragging Poto under and what he could do underneath there.
And there's a lot of underwater stuff in the last episode too, 306. But it's beautiful. Yeah. They pulled it off.
And I think that the challenge will be, I'm curious for families as you guys are enjoying this episode 5. Some of the team, including Grace, who's our script super, was like, "This is probably too dark," because it's whaling, right? It is hunting. It is. I remember, I think it's the very beginning of Harry Potter when you see the unicorn be attacked, right? And just that sense of like, that's awful. Just to take its horn, right? Which is what's usable and all that kind of stuff. And in here, it's like, just for the scales, what would that? And that was kind of an idea that I pushed out, was like, what if the scales are shiny and useful for something, you know?
And at this point, we know that the dragons are sentient, even if the pirates don't.
Yep.
So we feel the loss of it all.
Yeah, they're just hunting sea creatures. Yeah. And then, of course, had to convince Poto by the end, which is that beautiful bit of music that then Ben and Adam worked on, of both kind of creature expression and score to kind of land that moment, and it's a lot of carnage at the end of that. That was hard to kind of get, like fire and smoke and a broken boat, and a broken dragon, all of that. Great job by the team to really bring this one home. Hope you guys enjoyed it. End of the episode. Things are happy. Things are fine. They're headed to Foob Islands to see if they can help Cal, and then something appears.
Yeah.
Great way to finish this one. Artham.
There's been 2 episodes of wondering what Cal looks like.
Yeah. We left it from the premiere in the cave. Everybody groaning. Wait, what happened?
Yeah.
And now we're going to finally land that. And here he is, this little wolf. Quite a thing.
Yep.
And I think the question for everybody is, what happens next? Well, episode 6, season finale, happens next, and going to carry home that story. If you've read the books, you know what we're on a journey towards, and I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, man.
It's going to be exciting. Well, there's episode 5. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you guys are enjoying your holiday season, getting ready for Christmas. Andrew, one more to go.
Cannot wait for people to see it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch it myself, because I watch them when they come out,
I know.
on Angel, and it feels so different. It's just like when you have a song of yours on the radio.
Yeah.
It sounds different when you know that other people are listening to it with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It feels very special, because it's like, this is being broadcast.
Happening.
So yeah, we tune in every time they release and just celebrate what God has done. So I can't wait for you guys to see the finale.
And then Christmas, and we are pounding on season 4. It is well underway. Can't wait.
No
to
rest
bring it
for the
to you.
weary. Yeah.
Lots to show you in the new year. But in the meantime, here is a preview from episode 6, this incredible journey that we go on with Kalmar and the family, and a wrapping up of what happens at the Fort Factory.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So lots coming up in this season finale. Hope you enjoy this little sneak preview, and we will see you for episode 6.
Thanks, y'all.
Next on the Wingfeather Saga.
Don't come any closer!
I know you're confused.
Where am I?
Son, it's me. It's your mama.
We're ready. We'll fight our way out. No! Let me go! Cow!
Fight for the High King Janner. Help him remember who he is.